Hello, and welcome to Tell the People, a program about our Catholic faith with news and information in and around the Catholic Diocese of Lafayette. I'm Stephanie Bernard. In today's show, Trista Littell interviews Dawn Eaton about her life as the author of My Peace I Give You, Healing Sexual Wounds with the Help of the Saints and the Thrill of the Chase. Father Michael Champine's talk in this segment, What It Means to Be Catholic, will be the faith by which we believe. And in a conversation with Bishop Michael Gerald, Monsignor Richard Green interviews Bishop Gerald about Respect Life. And now, Catholic news on this October 28th weekend. A grief presentation entitled Mending the Torn Fabric will be held on Thursday, November 8th. This year's presentation will be hosted by St. Michael's Church in Crowley, and the meeting will be held from 6:30 to 8 p.m. inside the parish hall. The presentation will feature Dr. Sarah Brabant as the speaker. She is the author of the book Mending the Torn Fabric for those who grieve and those who want to help them. All are invited to attend the presentation, and there is no cost or registration required. Those seeking hours and/or credits for catechist certification, continuing education may attend. The holiday season can be a difficult time for those who are grieving. For further information, call 258-0073. All married couples are invited to join those of the St. Anne Parish community in Youngsville at 7 p.m. on Friday, November 9th, for a special marriage enrichment opportunity. Husband and wife spiritual directors Robin and Easton Abair will offer a presentation describing their personal journey through the heartaches and disillusionment of self-centeredness into the joy and liberation found in God's very heart. Through their own commitment to living out God's plan for marriage, they have built a ministry of mentoring those who prepare for marriage and also those who desire to live the sacrament more fully. Couples who are interested in attending should contact the St. Anne Parish Rectory office at 856-8212 to reserve their seats. The Community of Jesus Crucified encourages everyone to mark their calendars for the following retreat to be held at Our Lady of Sorrows Retreat Center in St. Martinville. A Men of God retreat is scheduled for November 30th through December 2nd. This silent retreat, presented by Father Michael Champagne, will focus on helping men to better understand and respond to their baptismal call to holiness in their state of life. Further details and registration information for all retreats may be obtained by contacting Cheryl Moss at 453-2385. Christmas may seem far away, but the Lafayette Diocesan Office of Justice and Peace is encouraging everyone to mark their calendars for the Child Smile deadline. Child Smile is an annual project to solicit donations of Christmas gift boxes for children whose parents have been incarcerated. The gifts are then distributed to the children at a special private party closer to the holidays. The deadline to donate gifts for this year's Child Smile project is December 5th. Donations may be dropped off at the front desk of the Immaculata Center in Lafayette between its operating hours of 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday and 8:30 a.m. to 12 noon on Friday. Some suggestions for items to place in the gift boxes include dolls, stuffed animals, CDs or DVDs, costume jewelry, watches, and gift cards. Please refrain from including items that are secondhand, breakable, liquid, or perishable, as well as toy weapons. For further details on how to contribute to the Child Smile Project, please contact the Office of Justice and Peace at 261-5545. Coming up next, Trista Littell interviews Dawn Eden, the author of My Peace I Give You, Healing Sexual Wounds with the Help of the Saints, and the Thrill of the Chase.
Welcome to Inside the Diocese. I'm Trista Littell, Assistant in the Office of Pro-Life Apostolate for the Diocese of Lafayette. Folks, our guest today, Dawn Eden, has visited parishes and talked about her newly published book, My Peace I Give You, Healing Sexual Wounds with the Help of the Saints. She's also author of the book, The Thrill of the Chaste, C-H-A-S-T-E. Dawn, welcome to our program.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a delight to be here.
Well, it's a gift for us to have you here with us. Dawn, your most recent book, My Peace I Give You, Healing Sexual Wounds with the Help of the Saints, it offers a Catholic spirituality of healing for adults who have suffered sexual abuse in childhood. Is it helpful for those who've suffered other types of trauma involving traumatic stress?
I'm so glad that you asked that, Trista. I suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder myself, so I'm very sensitive to the problems that people have from suffering from traumatic stress. So I hoped in writing My Peace I Give You that it would be helpful to anyone who had experienced any kind of trauma. In fact, originally I really wanted to write a book more generally on redemptive suffering and how the saints can help us through their lives, their examples, their prayers. And what I realized was that there are actually a lot of general books on suffering, but that there was no book on healing from the wounds of childhood sexual abuse. So I realized that if I wrote a book that addressed that kind of healing, that those who had experienced such abuse, who read the book, might want to tell their friends about it, and so it could help others as well.
To unleash the secret, huh?
Yes, yes, exactly.
Well, before we discuss the book further, tell us about yourself, starting with your early years.
I grew up Jewish, and my parents split up when I was a child, when I was 5, and I was raised by my mother. I have a sister 5 years older who's now a rabbi, a Reformed Jewish rabbi in Cincinnati. And I myself became a rock journalist when I was in my late teens, and through my 20s I wrote for rock magazines. And when compact discs first started becoming popular in the 1990s, I wrote the booklets, the liner notes for CD reissues of oldies artists. So I got to interview oldies artists, write their histories, including Del Shannon, Harry Nilsson, Gene Pitney, Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys.
Interesting.
I loved it. That was my life. And then I received the grace of conversion to Christianity when I was 31, and ultimately received the gift of recognizing the true church in the Catholic Church, and entered into full communion with the Catholic Church in 2006. So you could say that I'm now just 6 years old, so to speak.
Now, and you offer a Catholic spirituality of healing for adult victims of childhood sexual abuse. What type of audiences would benefit from your talks, Dawn?
Well, besides those who are adults who have suffered sexual wounds in childhood, I would also recommend my talks for anyone suffering from any kind of post-traumatic stress. Also for seniors particularly who are looking for spiritual healing, and for people who have suffered abortions, who are looking for healing from that as well.
Now, who are some of the saints? You talk about the saints in your books and how they've inspired you. Tell us what inspired you to use these particular saints in your books.
I had read the story of Blessed Laura Vicuña, who died at the age of 12 in early 1904. And it was her story more than anything that really inspired me. I discovered it in Ann Ball's book of Modern Saints. Laura Vicuña lived in Argentina, and her father had died, and her mother, after her father's death, took up with a very violent man, and her mother lived with this violent man, unmarried, and this man, who was her mother's lover, started to sexually threaten Laura and to abuse her. Sexual abuse of children isn't just what we call the contact abuse. It's also non-contact abuse as well, including placing the child in a sexually threatening situation and attempting molestation. Laura Vicuña, for years, had to fight off her mother's lover, and ultimately she died following a beating from him when she was resisting him. And what really struck me about her story was, first of all, that she was abused by her mother's live-in lover. That was very similar to the kind of abuse I received in childhood. And second of all, that when Laura was on her deathbed, she not only forgave her abuser, she also forgave her mother for placing her in a threatening situation. She actually revealed to her mother that she was offering up her life for her mother's conversion so that her mother would leave this man. And I was very moved by that, because my area where I really needed to forgive was I needed to forgive my mother for placing me in a situation where I was abused. And I thought how meaningful it would be for people who had suffered any kind of abuse to know that there was a saint like Laura who had been through what they had been through.
Well, we certainly hope that people will draw inspiration from this and read your book. And we want to thank you for being with us today. Thank you, Dawn. And stay tuned, folks, there's more to come.
Coming up next, Father Michael Champine's talk in this segment, What It Means to be Catholic.
Good morning to What It Means to be Catholic. We're concluding today in this month of October an introduction to the Year of Faith. We began by looking at kind of an overall look at the Year of Faith, opening up on the 11th of October, finishing up next year on the Feast of Christ the King, November the 24th, 2013, how it commemorated Vatican II's opening 50 years ago, and the giving of the Catechism of the Catholic Church 20 years ago, and why the Holy Father wanted to call it, because of a crisis of faith. So many Catholics who are now loosely connected to the Church, not practicing their faith, or just believing this and that doctrine, and picking and choosing what they believe and how they are to live. And so to cultivate faith, the Year of Faith was called. And then we spoke about the new evangelization, about this kind of bringing the gospel with a new fervor, new zeal to a new group of people, that group that have kind of drifted from the Catholic Church. And then thirdly, last time we looked at what we call subjective faith, or the virtue of divine faith, and how it is impossible to please God without faith. And when Jesus comes at the end times, will the Son of Man find faith on this earth? And about that work that we're called to do. In John 6, when people says, what is the work that we should be doing to please God? He says, this is the work of God, to believe in the one that the Father has sent. And so this is that interior, it's a human act, but a divine gift, that virtue of faith. Today we want to reflect in this fourth part of our four-part series on the content of the faith, just by way of introduction. The content of the faith is this, what we call this fides quo in Latin, faith to which we adhere, the content of faith.